All right, so I started another recording with the P1000, and so some of this is just to give markers, audio markers on, there's going to be 3 videos come from this at least. The P1000, the live Facebook that'll be out there, and then when I convert that to a YouTube video as well, I download it and upload it. It reaches a whole other audience. When I go live on Facebook, there's a notification potentially to the almost 2 billion subscribers. I just, according to YouTube, I have 2,000 subs now, subscribers. And then on Facebook, if I've made all my comments on my public posts, which everything I post is public, anybody can comment right now. So if you see some real trouble out there, you can give me a phone call if you want to. But the thing of it is, on a given day, I may get it's pretty average for me to get over 1,000 or around 1,000 notifications or more on all the different activity, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and I'm trying to keep up with it, but I can't. I'm not gonna, as far as I can tell right now, I'm not automating with a chat bot. If I have, like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, if I decide to market some products, like for example, steel reinforced concrete construction, homes, building material, 3D panel, battery auxiliary systems like lithium to power up a house. That's all something that, those are high ticket prices, not little cell phone cases. Elon Musk has a pretty interesting company with his solar products and doing that. One of the things that he does is has solar panels matched with a lithium power pack. And then what ends up happening with that is that there's tax credits. Well, that means that somebody else is working to pay for that. Who is that? But see, we all pay for the taxation and the inflation by the devaluing, the decreasing purchasing power of our money, so-called money, and the digital worldwide Ponzi scheme that the world central bank and financial system is. I'm outing all that too. With over 2,600 videos that I've got on my liked videos, I cover that, the world central bank, the Ponzi scheme that it is. And I'm connected with a lot of truth tellers all over the world that are, and they may not have the ultimate truth. I believe Christ Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. You may know him as Yeshua, Yahweh, the Alpha and Omega, the great I am, the Almighty One, the Most Holy, the Most High. Goes by a lot of names and titles. He's the creator of this world that we live in. I'm not an earth worshiper. I'm just a child of God that's actually born again, and I want to tell people about that. So if you know what happened with me, I knew what I should do, and I didn't have the power to do it. Or at least I believed I knew what I should do. In that, obeying God as best I could with what I knew, and I couldn't. I just couldn't. I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the power. So when there was a new power and a new nature given me, well, he changed me. That changed everything. So those angled rays of the sun are called crepuscular rays. And the sun will shoot through the clouds like that at angles, indicating the location of the light source. So I'm not, what flat earth model do I have? Well, it's the biblical one. The stationary earth, the moving sun, moon, and stars moving above. That's it. It's not exactly a particular map and model that's mainstream. I would have no way of confirming their accuracy, just to be clear on that. How could I know? I'm not a cartographer, a map builder, map maker. Now I think I'm looking at the top of a clam bed showing up. Right there. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna back out, let you see where that is. And that'll be more pronounced later. Now over here we can see the reflections are all different because of airflow and the elevation change of the water. I'll zoom into this clam bed. It dropped down another inch or so. So what I encourage people to do is to go ahead and if you're able to, get out and enjoy some of the beauty and majesty of creation. And so some of the clues will be photography and videography from all around the world showing the beauty and majesty of creation. And it's pretty spectacular right there. One of my cover photos was the open ocean, the sunrise, and then just the beautiful mirror that it was that day. You can see it. I've got thousands of photos on my photo album on Facebook, and I've got some on Google, Google Photos and that. One of the huge challenges is managing all the content and then all the interactions. So I post quite a bit, and that's probably got me unfollowed from a lot of people. That's okay. I don't mind. I'm certainly not doing this for the popularity, certainly not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I care, want people to know the reality of this as best I can tell. So I really do appreciate my friends and family all over the earth sharing and encouraging. I get calls at any given time of the day or night. What time is it? It depends on where we're talking about. Here or wherever. So this is a sea level liquid mirror that you're looking at. I hashtag that quite a bit. And sea level. I want people to see level. So seeing is believing. What? What do we see and what do we believe? One of the videos I recently posted, I've liked it before. It's beautiful music and showing the sun over the top of the clouds, and then that channel will show space imaginations and stuff. A lot of people are really interested in that fantasy, the Star Wars, the Star Trek, the Lost in Space. Elon Musk encouraging people to sell their homes and move to Mars. Really? Not buying that. I'm not buying sending a Tesla Roadster into space either, landing booster rockets back down on launch pads because they're so expensive. Come on, come on. I hope you're not buying that. Yeah, so when we look at information and it doesn't reflect the reality, what are we going to do with that? What will we do? I got a short video, like about 7 seconds long, 7-8 seconds long, shows the globe spinning with the water flying off over there at the walkout. Oh well, some people just think that's crazy. Well, it's the reality. That's just what water does. You know, the disconnect, a lot of people say, well, if you don't believe gravity is real, just go jump off a balcony. Hello, I'm more dense than the air around me, I would fall. Not going to do it. That's stupid. Stupid example. Next. We don't have a force that causes that big imaginary gravity force that people whip out when they think they got us. What about the water that flies off a tennis ball, a globe spinning like mine? What about that? Hey Bob, how about you cue up the spinning water sphere from space? Let's see that video. Let's see that real-time live video of that spinning, hurling orb, water orb going through space. Oh, the globe exists. Oh yeah, only in the imagination. That's where it is, because artificial intelligence lies. It's not just Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. The major corporations of the world, I don't know what their place in this whole thing actually is for them personally. You don't really think Mark Zuckerberg was eating ramen noodles and trying to figure out how to create the largest self-assembling data mining system in the world, do you? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his story is. I don't know how many of them there are, Mark Zuckerbergs or Elon Musks. Are there? We know they cloned a sheep. They said that, Dolly the sheep. I've got video on my channel that talk about the transpocalypse. It's transhumanism, transgendering. If those words sound weird to you and you don't know what they mean, you might want to look into it. Transhumanism involves the merging of man and machine. Transgendering involves more than the freak show of Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner. That's so bizarre and weird. And even weirder still is parents that alter their children and babies and all of that from birth, before birth, after birth. It's weird. Did you know what's going on? You know, Charlize Theron parading her, whatever she's making this little child into. Lots of money and lots of deception. What about that? What do we do with that when we see that? Is that loving for me to point out that they're transgendering, the Satanists of this world that are practicing their godless, Luciferian, evil religion and forcing it on humanity? I'll just tell on them. Yeah, about that. So I don't know how long my digital footprint will be up there. AI could take it down just like that. Only if God allows it. Isn't that special? So when I said this earlier on a video that isn't being I'm saying this again for another video. I wouldn't trade all the money in the world for shutting up about this. What would it profit a man if he gained the whole world and lose his soul? Yeah, priceless. So I've got a lot of evidence, as far as I'm concerned, enough evidence for me to know we're not on a globe. So I've had a conversation go like this. Somebody will say, "So you believe we live on a flat Earth?" And I'll say, "Well, it's not exactly flat. We've got mountains over 5.5 miles tall. I know it's stationary, and the sun, moon, and stars move above it. So you're a flat earther?" "Well, I'm a biblical creationist." Pressed a little further, I'd say, "Well, I know we don't live on a globe." "Oh, we're done here. I don't want you talking to my kids." And part of what happens with that, and when I've already talked to his daughter at the beach. Maybe he's watching now. I don't know. But people all over the world will see me and decide they want to look further. They'll see other people in this truth movement, a lot of different names. I hadn't even really thought to fashion what I do after what somebody else is doing. Not that it might not have some merit or benefit. I just wanted to do what I believed God wanted me to do, wants me to do. So in James, God through James writes, there's one author of Scripture says, if we don't do the good we know we ought to, we sin. And then in Romans, the Apostle Paul wrote, inspired by God, same author, God, writes where he's wanting us to think about, should we eat meat or drink wine or not? Anything that's not of faith is sin. So there's a whole lot of legalism in religious practices. There's a veritable spiritual smorgasbord inundating humanity, and a virtual one. There's a church of AI. Sam Harris talks about, you know what, we need to control this thing. So we're creating a God. We might as well make it a God we can live with. Think you can create your God? People do. In fact, the God that most people have is their reflection in the mirror. They're in charge of their own actions as far as they are aware, what they think. And what happens is there's a point in time where when I would look in the mirror and realize that I wasn't living consistent with how I believed I should live. Why couldn't I do what I believed I should do? I didn't have the power. I had the awareness that lying and stealing and taking illegal drugs was wrong and sin. Couldn't stop it in my own strength. So I talk about that, talk about more. Going to zoom in on that. So part of the challenge with this is creating the content to show people the world we live in, and then to try and help interact with others, help us all to learn how to ignore the haters, the people that are disrespecting and hateful, and largely it's an intellectual structure people put in their life to rationalize their perspective, to make it believable to them. Oh, that's a crazy guy, so I don't need to consider anything he's saying. So even when Jim Carrey is outing the moon landing and has obvious Illuminati involvement, Satan doesn't always lie. NASA doesn't always lie. They're telling the truth when they teach pilots to fly fixed-wing aircraft over a stationary, non-rotating, assumed flat level plane. Yeah. Well, if, you know what? If you're sweeping the floor and you're a janitor, you don't really need to know. If you're sitting in the cockpit of a SR-71 that can go 2,193 miles an hour, and you're doing that, you need to know if the earth beneath you is spinning or curved, or else you're going to end out in space. It means you could fly cross country in just a little more than an hour. Supposedly, according to spherical trigonometry, 8 inches per mile squared, you can look it up at earthcurvature.com, that would mean there's over 650 miles of curvature in North America from coast to coast. It's not there. In Kansas, it's flatter than a pancake. You can look it up. Texas, there's a lot of flatness. I've driven from coast to coast. I average 55 miles per gallon with a modified diesel Volkswagen. When I got to 5 to 7% grades, the mountains, the Smokies and Rockies, my fuel economy would drop down to 10, 12 miles per gallon. So I could tell because I had a computer estimating system. And then ultimately I looked at the odometer with the miles driven, the fuel consumed, and it all checked out. And that was a decade ago when I was driving out there to get high on marijuana. Go out to California and get high. Yeah, I don't need to do any of that now. So it's pretty interesting. Rather than, God is not a cosmic killjoy, taking the pleasure out of life. He actually gives me a desire to do what He created me to do. So I get to do what I want. Because He put that want to do what He created me to do. Yeah, isn't that special? So the rippled water creates a bit of a matte finish, and then because of the aerodynamics, the way the air moves over the water, we'll see a glossier look. The water towers aren't just water towers. They're all rigged up with communications, electronics. Down below, they typically will have standby generators. The 3D panel construction that I talked about, I'm going to break it down a little bit, and it's on my liked videos. You can check it out if you want. It takes roughly 50% of the energy to climate control. That's the biggest single energy expense typically in a household, is maintaining a comfortable living environment inside. And the other thing is it can withstand, it's impervious to wildfires. Now if you put windows in, you can put super energy efficient windows that can withstand some fire temporarily, and wind over 100 miles an hour. But if you wanted to have a veritable fortress and not have windows, you could have closed circuit TV. If you want to create it used to be in the 50s or so, during some of the 40s, I think it was, especially, people would have bomb shelters. You could you could create a really comfortable habitat above ground that's energy efficient, looks nice, and basically is a fortress. So I'm looking into that, wanting to make that available to people that want to buy it. It's not going to be for everybody. You know, if you're waiting tables at a soup, you know, or you're just trying to figure out how to make ends meet, it might not be for you, but there are people that I'm connected with on Facebook, YouTube, and that watch me that might be interested in what I found out. So I did a lot of research on steel reinforced concrete construction, found out that the 3D panel was a panel system that was created by EVG, or they created the wire welding machine that would work with that. Got a friend who owned a factory in North Charleston that created those systems, created the panels. So if you had a steel reinforced concrete home with a battery system and solar and a standby generator and a place to grow food inside, if you wanted to create oxygen to breathe, all that. I'm bathing in purified drinking water, reverse osmosis, carbon filtered, because it matters. It matters. We're, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% water. The earth is covered by about 70% water, we're told. How would I know for sure? There's a lot of water. I know that. I've seen it. So all my contact information is public. I make it available so people can reach out and call me. And I really appreciate you watching, liking, and sharing. Please explore my YouTube channel, Truth, the liked video playlist. I cover a lot of content. You can just hashtag or copy and paste any links you want me to review, and I'll get to them when I can. A lot of the links that I'm sent, I already have liked videos of, just so you know. So this is Robert Forsch, the YouTube channel Truth, and my phone number is 1-843-504-1776. If you want the YouTube Truth stickers, I make them available. You can send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and you could send it to Robert Forsch or YouTube Truth at 169 Cloverleaf Drive, Longs, South Carolina.